Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I hope you had a wonderful Sunday. Today, I'm so happy to be with you. Today, I haven't done a live in about 4 weeks. We are putting together the program. We are putting together something that you will continue to enjoy. I am looking for the World Championship in August, in June. It's going to be a wonderful World Championship. I can't wait to see some of the action. We are actually in full flight of the middle of the season. And you know that when we are in the middle of the season, a lot of good things will be going on and a lot of bad things will be going on. Some of the athletes opened up last week. Some of them look like they need to put in a little bit more work. Some of them look extremely confident. So you know, if you're not on your A game, you need to go and reassess where you are, and you need to pick up the pace. The sad thing is that some people don't even know what to do. They invested so much in the off season, and if things are not going right, they may not know who to turn to. And this is why I always encourage developing athletes to have a mentor, somebody who been there and done that, and they can lead you down the right path. Today, we're going to talk about some of the athletes who are in high school and they're thinking about going pro. And we're going to look at some of the information that we gathered over the years that can help those who are making the decisions for some of these young developing athletes, because they don't know what to expect. They have never been there before. They haven't done it before. So sometimes they expect those people who are in charge to give them good, sound, quality information. But sometimes it's not. It just don't go that way. Because when it comes to the money, there is always a vested interest where somebody else may have more interest in your future than you have. And this is why I'm doing this program today, because I hope that some of the developing athletes who are thinking about going pro, or some of the managers, or agents, or consultants who are advising some of these young people, young developing athletes, to make the right decision. And then we're going to look at some of the collegiate athletes from Jamaica who are doing great things. So it goes to show that sometimes you do need time to develop. Without proper time, you may never get there. And it is important that you do the right thing now, because a bad mistake, a poor choice, a poor decision can just cause you to walk out on a career that seems so promising. So today we're going to briefly touch on Brianna Liston, because I was watching some of her activities over the past few weeks, and I saw where she ran at multiple events, and she went back even to the meet in Maryland to compete. And, some people are concerned, including myself, to see if it is the best decision. No, we are not in the camp, so we don't know what's going on, and we hope that everything is being factored in when the decision is made. So I hope that those people who are manager, who I would consider her manager, that they are doing and calculating and teaming up with the right group of people that can help her to be the best version of herself, because she is so talented. Oftentimes we don't see this type of talent. She seems to be one who can go the distance, which means she can be an Olympic champion, she can be a world champion. But as it says, talent means nothing if it's not managed properly. And the people who are in charge, who ought to be managing the young and developing athletes, that they must do what is in the best interest of the athlete and not what is in the best interest of themselves. We also saw where Brian Level, he went to the same meet. He competed as well. And some people are concerned because they're wondering if he's going to give up his collegiate eligibility and if he's going to go into the pros. But, it's a very sticky situation, because I know sometimes you feel like you have it in you to be successful. But in my humble opinion, when I look at Brian, I realize that it is possible that he may need a few more years, maybe in the collegiate system, to be at his A game. He's still pretty young, and I am not sure he is fully ready to take on that major task. So I did an interview a few weeks ago with Jazeel Murphy, and he had some interesting insight on why he wasn't able to achieve his full potential. So what I did, I took out a piece of that clip, and if Brian or any of his managers or handlers are listening right now, I want him to hear what Jazeel Murphy has to say, because Jazeel Murphy was one of the top high school athletes coming out of Jamaica High School. He dominated his competitors, and now he's still on the verge trying to make a breakthrough. So I'm going to play a video. I want you to listen to the video. And if you have any question, please feel free to shoot these questions to me, because this is something that is dear to my heart. Because I know that at the end of the day, if these athletes don't make the right decisions, or if the people around them don't make the right decisions, it can cost them everything that they work hard for. So I want you to listen to about 3 minutes of this video to hear what Jazeel Murphy had to say about why he failed to achieve his full potential, despite the talent that he displayed and his dominance over the ISA Boys and Girls Championship. Let's go.
If you had to give a young athlete coming out of high school and going straight into the pros some advice, what advice would you give them based on your own lived experience?
That's a good thing, because I never learned to reach up here. Just say, if you want good, you know how to run. So you have to just put in the work. Just put in the work. Just enjoy it and just put in the work. Because when you put in the work and you know, say you put in the work there, you're going to see whole heap of blessing. You're going to see all type of blessing coming, all type of things start rushing. So just put in the work. Discipline. Stay disciplined. Stay humble. Don't, because you do something great at high school, you got to think, say, oh, you got to do the same thing at big league. Because sometimes you left high school and come to big league, you're different. Training harder, and you have to be disciplined if you can know what to do. You have to be mentally strong. Because if you're not mentally strong, you always are going to feel down. You always are going to feel like, say, oh, you can't do it, because what happened, you used to do some things at high school, but you never do it at, big league. So when you see some new things, you have to try your best to try to master it. If you can't master it, find a way that you can do something that you can master it a different way.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I know I may ask you the question, but I'm going to ask you again. So what would you say, summarizing everything, the most important lesson you have learned from running fast in high school to where you are now?
I have an answer for that still. Because it's rough. Just rough to answer. I have an answer for that.
You see, the reason why I asked you that question, because
some high schoolers coming now. Yeah.
The high schoolers coming, and I remember I was doing a seminar thing with Bruce James, and he was telling some of the high school athletes that, look, you guys think it's easy now coming out of high school to come into the big pros, but it's very difficult, very difficult. And while he was talking, I was observing them, and I realized that they weren't taking him serious based on what he was saying.
So you have to understand, sir, everybody different now. Every human different. So they remember say if some star athlete are going to say, you can't talk however, because me see me run faster than some club man already. So me good. So that's why. So some of these young youth, they know, they just are, so most of them just running. Just run. Because then, she said them always get things. They never work too hard to get what they want,
Yeah.
So them people just give, but they never work for it. So that's why. So enough of them, even what they hear me I talk to and see some athlete at Bridgeport, they just do it for fun. They just do it because they just feel like say, I just want to do something. But then I see the benefit out of it.
Yeah.
So some of them do have a goal. They just want to do it. Because people push them to do it. Sometimes you force an athlete, some athlete, you have to force them to do what they want, you know?
Yeah.
But you think they can do.
So, there you go. And, you know, I still feel bad for Jazeel, because without a doubt, he was one of the most talented high school athletes coming out of Jamaica. And today he's still struggling to be at his best. Because one thing you can't do, you can't turn back the hands of time. And when you make a mistake, sometimes it follows you for the rest of your life. So I'm talking to the federation as well, because sometimes it is in their best interest to protect the athletes from themselves. And I know I've been saying this over and over, and it seemed to be falling on deaf ears. But if you take a look and what's going on, some of the top quality athletes who you would expect to make a breakthrough with a bang, they are still struggling to find their way. So when I finish with this, I'm going to take you through so you can see some of those young athletes who people wanted them to go pro as well. But when you look at how well they are performing in the collegiate system, you realize that there are more benefits to be a part of the collegiate system than to go straight into the pro. So I was having a discussion a few weeks ago, and I was having a discussion with Michael Frater, who is actually one of the person who is overseeing the club in Jamaica. And he was saying that it hurts his heart as well to see that those individuals who can make a difference, encouraging these young athletes to go pro before time. So I too want you to hear what Michael Frater had to say. Because when you hear about one who'd been through the system and he too cares, he's saying that sometimes it's just too much for him to undo because the damage is already done. No, he made a very valuable point, not in this video. You can watch the video for yourself. But he said that when you look at all the athletes who even stayed in Jamaica, Sharon Simpson, Shelly Ann Fraser, Elaine Thompson, Asafa Powell, all of them went to a college in Jamaica. So they were still a part of a collegiate system. And why is that important? Because it gave them some time to properly develop while they wait on their moment. So I want you to hear what Michael Frater had to say, and then feel free to share your question as well. Until that they are defeated before they actually up on the line. And I think for them, it is getting into the pros too early. When they're not psychologically ready to take on the pressure, and the pressure just eat them up, just like that. It is often said, and I am a true believer of this, Michael, that transitioning from amateur to the professional, it is no walk in the park. Because this is where a lot of the athletes fail to transition successfully to the next level. The coach has to be right, the environment, also the structure of the camp has to be right. And we talk now about the funding. Funding has to be right. How was your transition? Was it smooth as we, the spectator on the outside, perceived it to be?
I mean, it wasn't smooth, but it wasn't bad, because as I mentioned earlier, I was guided and I was trained in college, basically along an elite group. So my transition wasn't as bad as some people. And after the Pan Am Games, immediately that was the 2004 Olympics was the following year, and I had made the Olympic team and went on to making the semifinals of the Olympics. I think, making the semifinals. So my transition wasn't horrible, wasn't bad, because I was guided early, and then what helped was, as I said, going to college, training with these guys. Now you have guys out there who are just leaving high school immediately and trying to jump into the professional ranks, as what you said, and psychologically they are not developed at all. And we spoke earlier about the developing of the especially on the male side, the athletes again. And some would think that we have not had the talent or something like that over the last few years, while we are not competing at a high level with the male internationally. But that's not the case. If you're supposed to look at champs, every year you'll have one or two boys in class one at champs running 10-1 or 10-2s. Back in my days, they didn't have that. So it's not like we don't have the talent or the speed per se out here or to compete with guys at a high level. They are just not transitioning.
Sure.
And I think one of the biggest problems is them running, trying to going after the money quick. Instead of going to college where you can actually, or, semi-pro where you can actually develop psychologically,
True.
to be able to compete at a high level. They're just jumping in the big leagues. I've seen many guys who we thought were going to be the next Usain Bolt, who, they jump from high school to professional and disappear. All they can do now is just say, remember when they were this at champs. And I think that is one of the big problems with so-called managers out here trying to exploit the athletes, forcing them to take up different professional contracts early, when they should guide these young athletes. The college system is not perfect. You'll hear that certain guys go into the college system and they got lost in the system. But that's where the manager is supposed to come in play. If you're actually going to be a manager, help the athlete. Make sure that they make the right decisions when they go to college. Try and pick the best college to fit their needs and so forth. So I don't really want to hear about them being lost in college, because when you're in a good Division 1 college, thereabout, you'll be afforded a good education, good health, and good coaches. It's just that some of us Jamaicans here, once we all know that you can make a lot of money out of track and field or sports in general, and you're trying to rush these athletes to make you that money at the detriment of themselves.
True. Well, you heard it here. I am so happy that I'm talking to somebody who shares similar sentiment as I do, and you'll find that the Patriots are the ones who want the country and the athletes to be better developed, because we know what it is like to get the quick fix. So you hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Michael Frater is telling you what he experienced, and he's telling you what he too witnessed. Now, some people still not gonna listen, but I'm hoping that if you know an athlete who you may have doubt that they are fully ready, that you can say something, or you can point them to some of these videos, because my purpose here is to help some of them who are emotionally caught up in the return, right? So here's the good news, because Michael Frater said it. The college system is not perfect, but the college system helped a whole lot of us, including myself, Raymond Stewart, Gillian Russell, you name them, Merlene Otti, Juliet Cuthbert, Dion Hemmings, all of us went through the system. And here is what the system did for us. It gave us a free college education, right? Because we were able to use our talent to pay. It also helped us to fully mature. So we were better prepared to take on our competitors, because a lot of the Americans, they were competing against us. So there is a lot of benefits. In fact, I think you have more upside than downside. Now I'm going to post a video tomorrow, and this video host Glenn Mills, because Glenn Mills, he was throwing out some statistics, and he's saying that when a high school athlete leave and go straight into the pros, they have a 5% chance of transitioning successful to the next level. That's not a lot of chance there is. Think about it. Every 100 athlete that try to make it to the pros coming out of Jamaica, only 5 is going to make it. That's what 5% of 100 is. Only 5. And that's not a good number. So it goes to show who are encouraging these young athletes to go pro before time. We got to find these people. Maybe we need to do a lesson with them for them to understand that when they make such poor decisions, they're affecting the country, they're affecting the athlete, and they're preventing some of these developing athletes from actually helping their parents get out of poverty. Because many of us, that's all we had. We had our talent, and we were given the talent to enrich ourselves. But what we are finding is that you do have people who are encouraging these young athletes to make the move before time. Now look at this. Kevona Davis. You don't want to watch the race. She has a final today. She's now a sophomore at Texas Longhorn. And yesterday, she ran 10.95 running out of lane 8. Now, a lot of people were worried about Kevona Davis and they wanted to know what was the issue with her. But all she needed was some time to better develop. She's now ahead of the game. She also ran 22:49 in the heats. And she's waiting to run the final later today at around 6:30 Central Time. So if you have a chance, go and watch it. After the race, Kevona Davis, she was so happy you could see tears in her eyes. She was so happy. She went over to her coach and she hugged him and she did not want to let him go. You see, because I've been there, I know exactly what was going through her mind. Because a lot of people wrote her off because they felt like she did not make the transition as fast as they expected. But sometimes the athlete need a few years to properly develop. Look at the Tina sisters. I'm too worried about what is going to happen to them. But at least we see that the overseer, they seem like they're preserving them for the right moment. And that's what we want to see. Why would you deny a young, talented athlete who can go all the way the opportunity to get a college education, the opportunity to develop and socialize in an environment that they will need when they get older? I want you to think about it. Now, another person I want to talk about is Cherokee Young. Yes, she's at Texas A&M. And many of you may not know Cherokee Young. She also went to Heidel. Recently at the Tom Jones Memorial, she ran 49.80 in the 400 meter. Very impressive. Now, she is only a junior in high school. So it means that she took 2 years to fully get to where she is now. And chances are she will only develop better with time. And this is why we are saying that there should be no urgency to encourage these young developing athletes to go straight into the professional arena. Because you hear what Jazeel Murphy said, it's difficult. It's like throwing them to the wolves because they're not getting that level of guidance. So kudos to you, Cherokee Young. I am happy that you are on top of your game. I watch her run. The Big 12 conference is going on now. So if any of you want to watch her, you can check her out. She's attending Texas A&M and she is looking excellent. Another person that we're going to talk about too is Stacey Williams. She is a senior. She's also at Texas Longhorn. It seems like Texas is recruiting a lot of our talented female sprinters. She ran 50.29 recently. She's also in the Big 12 championship, so you need to check her out as well. She's looking good. She looked like she developed the right way. She looks strong. She looks as if she too can go all the way. So a little time will not hurt. It will actually make them better. Another person I want to talk about is Demisha Roswell. Yes, she is a junior. She also attends Texas Tech. It seems like a lot of these athletes are going in that conference, Texas Tech, Baylor University, etc. And these foreign universities are taking the time to better develop our athletes, Jamaican athletes, athletes from England, athletes from Australia. Why would you deny them the opportunity to be better developed? So Demisha, she actually ran 12.74 in the 100 meter yesterday. She's looking good. She looks as if she can win the title, the Big 12 title. But she's going up against another Jamaican, Akira Nugent, who is now attending Baylor University. Now, I know Akira because she went to my high school in Jamaica. She went to Excelsior. She's the world junior champion. She's the world junior record holder. She dominated the collegiate system, indoor and outdoor, for the past 2 years. She's only a sophomore in college, which means that she too is taking the opportunity to develop. The only concern I may have, and I heard some of the pundits them talk about it, is that she is competing a little bit too much in my eyes. And when you hear Michael Fritter talks about the system is not perfect, sometimes the system can use you or overuse you because they are desperate for points and they're desperate to make a statement. But at the end of the day, if she can make the right decision or get good guidance and counsel to decide when she runs and when she sits out, then she too can be at the top of her game. So I see a lot of questions coming in. I am going to talk about a few more people, but I want to address some of the questions that we have. We have a question from I put it on the screen. Okay, we have a question. We have a question from Anthony Henry. He said that the pros are too cutthroat when you compared NCAA, and that is true. And this is why, Anthony, we are saying that the athlete needs some time to develop, because when you show them in that cutthroat situation, it's very tough for them to be victorious. It's very tough for them to mature the right way. And as you said earlier in one of your other questions, it leads to injury. So when you jump straight into the pros and you have to put your body through those wear and tear, chances are you won't be there for long. Anthony's talking about Jazeel Murphy as well, that he has not been consistent in that 20 point. But I think with time, if he stays focused, that he will get there. He was suffering with injuries. And again, that is one of the issues, Anthony, that he went straight into the big league. He would tell you that he was not fully prepared. And as a result of that, he sustained unnecessary injuries. So that is not something that we want. You cannot be the best if you continue to experience injury. Anthony says that Akira, she just ran 12:45. Impressive. That's what I'm talking about. I'm missing the event, but it is worth it, because at least those who are able to come back and watch this, they will see that some of the things that we are saying, that we are right on the money. And we're saying this with no malice. We're saying this because we too want the best for the athletes. And sometimes if they don't know what is best for them, they will make unnecessary errors in their judgment that will lead to failure. There is another athlete I want to talk about. We have 2 male sprinters so far that we think is doing great. Devontae Burnett, and he's a senior at USC. And so far, he has run some impressive time. In fact, he ran 9.97 recently. Very good time. Now, it's been a while since we have sprinters, male sprinters, who are going below 10 seconds. And Devontae is one of them. He's a senior now, making that transition now straight into the pros. It's going to be a little bit challenging, but we can say that he's somewhat ready to take on the pros, because you can see his progressions over a period of time. The last athlete I want to talk about is Ralford Mullins, and he is a freshman attending Arizona State. Yes, but he's a discus thrower. And within a few attempts, he almost hit the world champs qualification mark with 65 meters this year. And he has been consistent from the beginning of the year, which is a very good thing. So my point is this: give the athletes, the developing athletes, a fair shot. at being the best they can be. Because chances are, even if they decide to go to a community college for 2 years, or if they decide to go to a university, but after 2 years, based on their maturity, they now decide to move to the next level, then they would be somewhat prepared to be victorious. Now, when we talk about preparation, a lot of times people think that it is only the physical preparation, but that is not true, because sometimes they need that mental preparation, the psychological edge. I can tell you what it is like, because I have been in meets before where I was so nervous I couldn't even think straight. And sometimes that takes practice. And sometimes confidence will develop over a period of time. And this is why it is important to allow the athletes to develop instead of encouraging them to go straight into the pros. Now, there are a lot of issues that I find, and there are a lot of reasons that I see that would cause others to influence these developing athletes. And we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about them on this platform, because the purpose of this platform is to invite, to inspire, and to motivate, and also to educate. So I'm going to drop a video tomorrow in the morning, and this video will talk about what Coach Glenn Mills said at a conference that he had about our developing athletes. Yes, that was when he said only 5% of the athletes who leave high school and go into the pros are able to make that transition. So I am going to take a few more questions. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, feel free to share them. So I'm going to take a few more questions, and then we will see where these questions can lead us tonight. Okay, let me see what we have here. Okay. Anthony saying that Coach Flo is working magic with our athlete, with our girls. Yes. I don't want him to work magic. I want him to teach them the right things, because this is not a Jack on the Beanstalk. But I do want, I understand what you're saying. One of the things you will see is the level of trust that is developed between athletes and coach. You see, if there is no trust on the part of the athlete, or even on the part of the coach, you're going to create it. It will create a lot of problems. And this is why it is important that the coach is equipped psychologically to help the athletes, or their athletes, to understand what is to come. Another question, it seemed like Anthony is the one asking all the questions, but Anthony said, Bolt and Shelley is different because they were hungry. They had the drive and the motivation. So here is what I'm saying to you, Anthony. It's not Anthony, but here is what I'm saying to you. It's not always true that they only had the drive, because a lot of these developing athletes coming out of high school, they too had the drive. They just were led astray. And after the beat up, the knockout punch, they just can't seem to give their best effort anymore. And I can tell you, it is said clearly, talent means nothing if the right decisions are not made. And one of the reasons some of the athletes are not able to transition successfully, because the right decisions are not made. And trust me, as a mentor who mentored these athletes, I hear the stories. I see clearly what the issues are. And some of the time it's greed. Some of the time it's dishonesty. You know, and the athletes, they don't have advisors, so they trust the agent. They trust the coach. They trust their managers. And it just never seems to work long term. Now, keep that number in mind. Only 5%. Glenn Mills is saying this. And Coach Glenn Mills has been in the business for over 50 years. Yes, Glenn Mills was once the coach for Donald Quarry. So he has been around. He has seen presidents after presidents. In fact, Glenn Mills was one of my coaches in high school as well. So he has his hand in almost everything. Think on that. I have another question here. It says, Bolt went pro 2004. He was about 17, I think. I remember that I used to go up to Bolt because at the time I was trying to encourage Gonzalez to go to college. So I was able to see Bolt and I was able to see Gonzalez because they were very good friends at the time. Bolt was fortunate that some people stepped in to guide him because the initial group of people he had around him, they were leading him astray. Not all of them, some of them. And it was always a tug and war between who was doing this and who was doing that. So Bolt was fortunate. As talented as he was, he too needed some time to mature. And indeed, the time worth him while. If you notice in Bolt's situation that he was injured quite a number of times. And if those individuals did not have the prerequisite knowledge and skills to guide him, Bolt would have never been as successful as he is today. So it goes to show good talent need good managers. Good talent need good mentors. Good talent need good agents, need good coaches. And that is one of the main reasons Usain Bolt, was so successful. Another question from you, Anthony. You said, Damisha, she ran 12.4 in that same race with Akira. I wanted to watch the race. Hopefully I can watch it later. And this is what we're talking about. We have two top quality collegiate athletes, sophomores, running 12.44 and 12.45. You know how rich that is going to make the 100-meter hurdles for Jamaica going into the World Championship and the Olympics. And we're not even talking about Miss Williams, and we're not talking about all those others who are at the top of the game. But that's what we want. We want to have more than everybody else. And it is a mistake, Anthony, not to allow these developing athletes to come to the States to get that extra boost that they need. Here is a good thing too. When you come to the States, it saves Jamaica a whole lot because they don't have the money to invest in the athletes, right? They can invest for maybe a year or two, and if the athlete is not able to make it within that year or two, they have to move on to the next guy. And that is the main reason why the athletes are not able to be the best version of themselves. So I am happy, Anthony, that we have two hurdlers running that fast of a time, so close, so we can expect good things to come from them. We have another question. It says that when Bolt was coming up, they nurtured their athletes. They wanted to find the best of the best. One of the things I can tell you that when you display talent, a lot of people will want to be your friends. Believe me on that one. Some of them will be good friends. Some of them will not be as good because there is a lot at stake. And many of them are trying to get their hands on what they can get. So it is important that the athlete has enough information to guide himself. Because one of the things we don't see the parents taking control and guiding the athlete because they just don't know. So they have to take the word of someone else. And sometimes this too can be dangerous because if the athlete parent needs some money, they may sacrifice long-term for short-term gain. I've seen it happen all the time. Another question here. When Bolt was on top, a lot of upcoming athletes slipped through the cracks. You know, at the end of the day, my philosophy is just like the Misha and Akira, two good quality athletes. They can go all the way. Yes, maybe we may need to pick only 3. But at the end of the day, those 3 must be at the best at that particular point. And this is why I said earlier that the coaching must be right, the environment must be right. There are so many other things that goes into making the athletes great. And if these things are not there, then it's going to be hard for the athlete to be the best they can be. I can tell you this, that I went up against the best and I kept getting third and second all the time, and because I too needed that extra boost that I didn't get. So at the end of the day, if you are better managed, better trained, better coached, chances are when it comes time to perform, you will be at your best. And I'll answer your question again to say that some fall through the cracks, because I just received notice that even Javan Minzy, that he is actually about to retire because he grew frustrated for many reasons. I did an interview with him too, and you want to listen to that interview. The interview is so heartbreaking, so to speak, that I really hope some of the developing athletes would watch it, because he told you exactly the reason why he wanted to quit and the reason why he struggled so much. And I think people just see him falling by the wayside, but they don't know exactly the reason that caused him to struggle. I'm going to go with another question here. The fact that he's thinking going pro and he hasn't run sub 20. You know, my thing is, I never really look at time all the time. I look at the level of maturity. Because if the athlete is mature, chances are they'll do the right things in order to be the best version of themselves. If the athlete is not mature, then it's going to be hard for them to run any quality time, so to speak. And this is why when I look at the men sprinters today, I realize that the reason they are not able to be the best version of themselves, because I can see that mental edge not there. They're not fully aware of the cause and effects. And as a result, they buy into the concept that running and training hard each day is going to be enough to get them to be the best version of themselves. Believe me, it is not true. They need that mental training in order to be the best. Another question coming in, it says racers and MVP have too many athletes than they can give personal attention, and that is also an issue. You are absolutely right. They have too many athletes and they don't have the resources, the cash, the manpower to make sure that these athletes are given the things that they need. Because some athletes may need more attention than others. Some athletes may need more time than others. Some athletes may need more communication, more interaction than others. And when you have so many, you really don't have the time to focus on individuals. So if you don't get it, you're on your own. And this is why I say that you should listen to the interview with Javan Minzy, because he touched on that. Because when things weren't going his way at Racers, he went over to MVP, and he will tell you what is his issue. This is truly unfortunate. Anthony just reported that Devante pulled up today. That is truly unfortunate. He ran 9.97 yesterday, so he maybe needed a little bit rest. I'm not sure what it is, but that is so unfortunate. You see, his injuries can really set you back. And the good thing about being mature is that if you get an injury, like say in Devante's case, and I don't know what type of injury it is, because his muscles are properly developed, it is highly likely that that injury can be fixed. But think about a young developing athlete who may not fully develop yet. Physically, an injury may be impossible to fix because the muscle was not developed. And when you have a muscle that is damaged, at that young age. Sometimes it heal with all different types of scar tissues, etc. And I'm saying this too because I remember Ali Watson, Calabar guy, talented guy, man. He ran some amazing time at 12 and 13 and 14. And he sustained an injury early. And as a result, he was not able to fully heal that injury and come back. Peter Martin says that Whitney ran 12:44 at Doha. I saw that too. She was looking good. You know, she was looking great. So again, we have 3 hurdlers, and we don't have Danielle Williams yet. You know, hope she is doing well because I know that she wants to make a comeback. So thank you for those questions. Thank you very much. Yeah, you heard about the racers, Javan, Gillespie. Racers do have some good guys, you know. What I don't know over racers is the time, the quality of time that they are spending with each, because just like how MVP has that issue, racers do sometimes have similar issues. Another question coming in. It says that Jamaica won't dominate the men 100-meter until they learn to appreciate the women. Because when Bolt was running, Shelley hasn't gotten the same attention. No, at the end of the day, one should really look at attention. I think what we need to look at is some of the things that the athletes need. The mental training, the nutrition, the proper guidance in terms of instructions. I did some videos on that too. You really want to see it. Why our male sprinters are failing. I did a series of 3 very well put together, but you want to watch the third one because the third one went deep into the real issues that are causing the athletes not to make it. You know, so you really don't want to miss that one. I encourage you to get that. Another question we have coming in from Sea Life. I am very worried about the Jamaican male sprinting output. I feel and share similar sentiment. I am worried too, because when I look, I realize that a lot of the things that the athletes need, that they are not getting it. And because of that, it will pose a problem. I have a lot of questions coming up here. I don't think in every sprinter will be able to run sub 10 and sub 20, no matter how hard they train. You know, at the end of the day, I would never say that. I would never say it is impossible. Bear with me a second. My alarm is going off. Let me stop this. Yeah, sorry about that. You know, we have to have a burglar alarm. You know it go. We have to have a burglar alarm. So, and the fire and everything, because you know it go. But I never look at it that way. And the reason why I don't look at it that way, because if you look at it that way, then when you're training an athlete, you're going to have that bias. You're going to look at that athlete and say, that athlete cannot make it. They're not capable of doing that. And I can tell you this, as a coach as well, I had this guy one time I was coaching, and believe me, I had no clue that the kid would run that fast. I had no clue that he would run that fast. But as a coach, I wanted to give him my honest time and effort. And he surprised me. The same thing with me. When I went to Central Arizona, no one thought I would run that fast. And as a freshman in college, I ran 44.78. So you can't look at it that way. What you have to do is to see exactly what the athletes need. Some need more physical attention. Some need more psychological attention. Some need better socialization. Some need a proper nutrition and diet. And if you're able to give them the things that they need, chances are they will run the time that most people may not expect of them. I have another question here. We have a lot of questions today. What the man said? We could have left the alarm. No, man. I couldn't leave the alarm because it started to annoy me, man. So I want to cut it, man. So, but me understand what you say. You know, so any more question? Let me have the question before we go because I did not want to go beyond an hour today. But okay, so I have one more question that says that where am I coaching? I don't physically coach anymore. I am a mental coach. So I provide that mentorship and I use my team to help others be the best version of themselves. So anything an athlete need, it is my duty to make sure that they have it. Now, as I said before, a lot of the coaches can do enough to get the athletes by. But one of the things that the coach don't have sometimes is that mental fortitude to make sure that the athletes understand. In fact, I have a series that I'm going to post next week. I've worked on that series for a while, and it is the psychological edge that the coaches need in order to train their athletes. I'm going to be posting that sometime next week. The course is totally finished. It's ready. You will like it because it focuses on the coaches developing their abilities to help their athletes to see the big picture. A lot of coaches understand the physical training part of it, but they don't have the people person skill, so to speak, to connect with the athlete. So you can look out for that next week. I also have a series that it is ready as well, and it is how the athlete can overcome their fears. Trust me, if you're an athlete, you will know that when you step on the track, sometimes it's nerve-wracking. You are nervous, and because of the nervousness, you're not able to think clearly. And this is where I come in as the mental coach. As the mentor, I know how to clear those mental baggage that cause the athlete not to perform. And I have a course very well put together. It's for athletes who are struggling with fears and they're not able to bring out the best in themselves. Anyway, I have one more question. I'm going to take one more question tonight, and then I am going to close. He says, I think speed is more mental than physical. It's a mind over matter thing. You see, one of the issues you find with a lot of coaches, they don't understand speed development. Speed must be developed over a period of time. You can ask Coach Tucker this. For those who in New York area who want a specialist in terms of coaching, you want to see Coach Tucker because he will show you how you can develop speed. Speed is not something I usually hear athletes say, oh, I'm going to start speed work. That's not how it is. Speed must be developed months in advance because it's one of the hardest things. Hey, Anthony, you're on top of your game, man. I'm missing it. I wanted to see Stacey run. She ran 50.2. Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to see the race. So, guys, I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate your support. We're going to be doing more of these live, especially when it gets closer to the World Championship, because there's so much to talk about. There's so many more people that we can help. And we need to work together to encourage our athletes and to make sure that they have the right information. I really appreciate you guys coming out. I see you guys next week. If you have any question, feel free to go to my Facebook, send me some notice, and I will put them together so when I do the next live, we can have the discussion. I thank you all for coming. May God continue to bless and keep you and your family all safe. Have a blessed night.